Hey guys, and welcome to Jermaine Morgan TV. You're watching Grooves and Motivation Live. Today we're going to be talking about something I feel like a lot of musicians and creatives deal with, and that's the fact that you don't believe. We'll get into that and we'll talk a little bit more about that, so stay tuned. All right, this is a bit of a different one today, but that's cool. I'm cool with different. I'm cool with doing different. Let me get this off of the screen here. I didn't mean to have that there. There it is. Got that off. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you for joining me today. Um, yeah, we just wanted to get on here and share with you guys a little bit today. Be sure to drop in the comments where you're watching from as usual. I love checking that stuff out to see where the audience is, where you guys are located at. But I was playing around with this literally right before I started. I was playing around with this song. It's a very familiar song for any of my church folk out there. And I'm going to tell you, give you a heads up before I start playing. I have not perfected this. I ain't even worked on this. It's just something that popped up in my head literally like 3 minutes before I went live. And it's just, I want to play it. And so if it's horrible, don't log off. Just give me time. It'll level out. Give me time. It'll level out. But I don't know. I just got I want to say a call, so to speak, right before I jumped on live, and it kind of shook me a little bit. So it's all good. Myrtle Beach Vision is in the building. So anyway, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna jump into this, and y'all can do your thing in the comments. I see you, Boneville, in the building. Michael, what's up, man? My home, I ain't gonna say my hometown, but it's my stomping ground. You close to my folks. Sean Lewis, good morning to you. Okay, Illinois is in the building. Zion, Illinois. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna just play. All right. So while this is fresh on the mind, told you I hadn't worked on this. Ah, sorry. I had a loop. I was gonna go a whole different way with this, but I think I'm gonna stay there. Yeah, I'll stay there with it. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed that impromptu, not not rehearsed rendition of "To God Be the Glory." Um, yeah. Sorry, y'all. I'm in a different place right now. Um, so anyway, let me move on because I don't think I'm gonna be long today. Um, I had for a title for this, "We Don't Believe," and I'm gonna jump right into that this morning. I see all of y'all. I see all of y'all over in the comments. I'm gonna probably try to come back last and speak to everybody that I haven't already spoke to, but I'm gonna just go ahead straight into what I was gonna say this morning. So anyway, we don't believe. I was talking mainly about, or the thought came about when I think about us as musicians and creatives being so cynical. And if you've seen in my description, or if you look at my description, it's something along the lines of most of us are really cynical when it comes to believing certain things. And most of us have reason to do so because if you've worked in ministry, if you worked in church, you work with people in general, we're so used to convention talking. If you been around church for any length of time, you know exactly what I mean when I say convention talking. Like that's the person that's telling you they're gonna do something just because they see you there. They like, oh man, I've been meaning to get up with you. I'm gonna hit you up for this. Like we're so used to that as musicians, the convention talk. I don't think I know for most of us, it's affected the way we believe. It's affected our faith. It's affected just our trust, our belief that things are possible. We don't hardly believe anything anybody says. And an unfortunate part is I threw around several titles for this live today. It was like one of them was going to be "We Know Too Much." And especially as musicians, I think we put so much time and so emphasis into learning this craft that we think that translate over to everything else. And we know music and we know flow and all these different things and how to shift the room and shift the atmosphere and environment. If you've been in this thing for a while, you know what I mean. We've been doing this so long, we know what to do. Even like if you play in a more secular setting, you know, if you play a fast song, depending on the song, the people are going to get up and dance. So even when people are putting set lists and that types of things together, we know what works to get people to respond. So we think because we know so much stuff when it comes to music that it goes over, it translates to everything else. And the fact of the matter is it doesn't. It does not translate over to everything else. You might be Sensitive, and I don't mean like my men, I don't mean sensitive. I don't mean that. I mean sensitive meaning you're able to discern or able to at least fill out the room and know what needs to happen here and know what needs to happen there. We pay attention to how people respond, those types of things that you'll learn as a musician. You'll pick up on if you're watchful as a musician. You'll pick up on a lot of this stuff as a musician over time. But again, the problem that comes about is the fact that we think just because we're sensitive and we pay attention to these things in certain areas, that these things carry over to everything else. And that's not the truth. That's just simply not the truth. They don't carry over to everything else. And so we can oftentimes miss things because we won't dig and study other stuff as hard as we work to study this instrument. And this is not across the board for all musicians, I know, because some of us are like scholars out there. We're deep. We get in some other stuff and we really study those things, whether it be the Bible, whether it be, finance, books, whatever the case may be. So this is not for everybody in terms of saying that you don't study. I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I seen something. I think it was a meme or something the other day, and it was like this musician who was making fun of other musicians that say what they earn, all these different types of things, and I just found it interesting. And that thing also triggered the thought today about us being really cynical and us not believing anything, because most of the time we always base stuff on our experience and what we've seen. That's the other thing I want to say. We love basing stuff based on our personal experience. And this world is so vast. It's like, man, we've only seen, I don't even know the fractional amount that would be accurate to say that we've only seen so much of this world to know that, oh yeah, well, that's not true. Well, you don't really know that because you haven't really experienced that. Like, I study a lot of business people, and some of the people that I study, some of these people have, when we get to the finance part of it, y'all know I talk about finance a lot on here. When we get to the finance part of things, some of these cats do, 6 and 7 figures a day. Now, for us in the musician world, that's unheard of. It's like, man, get out of here. This is some more convention talk as far as we're concerned. Ain't nobody out here doing those 6 and 7 figures a day. You do good to do 5 figures in a day, let alone talking about 6 and 7 figures in a day. You know what I'm saying? Being a musician. But it is possible, and there are people, I'm sure, I don't know how, but there are people who are doing it. And, I got friends that have did, 5 and 6 figures a month as musicians. And it's unheard of. Now, here's the thing. They haven't done it from the traditional route that most musicians would go about doing it. But that's not to say that they haven't done it. And it's mind blowing for me because I'm like, man, that's crazy to even consider. A high 4 figures is crazy, right? For the most of us. But to be in the 5 and 6 figures as musicians doing it, and granted that to say that's going to be really, really low. And of course, most of these people we would think would be like recording artists or people who are already famous and all these type of things. But in this talk today isn't about money, so to speak. But I do want to reference this because I think we all can relate. We can all kind of, have common ground when it comes to the financial part and financial aspect of everything. But when it comes to those things, you hear people throwing out these numbers and this type of stuff. It's really hard to believe. It's really hard to believe. Like, man, really? You doing this? Somebody's paying you X amount of dollars to do this. Well, another thing that I've seen in the musician community, working for musicians, so to speak. When I say working for, a lot of the things that I've created on my site and a lot of the programs that I've created or courses and these types of things, I notice that things I've done in the financial world, the response is different in the musical world. And it's because we don't believe. I've done things in the financial world where you got entrepreneurs who are trying to build their businesses. And so they have an assignment. They do these assignments because they know this is going to get them closer to their end goal that they're desiring for their business. And no questions asked, they do it. They pay the cost. They pay the price for whatever it costs for them to do this thing because they believe that the outcome that they're investing in is worth what they're investing in. And so they have no problem with the price. Even if they have a problem, they figure out a way to come up with the money and say, you know what, I believe what I'm investing in is going to be worth it. And some of these people invest in stuff I've even personally invested in stuff for my personal business that I didn't see the full outcome that I was expecting, but I still paid the money. And I still took away the lessons that I could take from it. And I understood some things about it. It was like, okay, well, this didn't work, but it wasn't the overall thing, the overall idea that didn't work. It was just this just didn't work for my audience. This didn't work for my group of people. So I guess I need to kind of revisit some things. Not to say that the stuff that I got was no good. And I ain't trying to go back to hey, you need to get my money back because this, that, and the other. No, it's like I believe the thing that I did when I purchased something for my business, I believed that it would help my business. I believed. And in a lot of ways it did. It just didn't help it to the full extent that I thought that it was going to help it. But all in all, I did the work. I did what was required of me to the best of my ability that would time would permit. But some of the things, I ain't gonna say again, I'm not gonna say they didn't fully work for just overall, but some of the things specific to my business didn't work. Why am I saying all this? Because it's like, again, us as musicians, if we don't start to open our minds up, and creatives, if we don't start to open our minds up to things being possible, then we shut the door. We put a lid on what's possible for us. Because on one end, you're saying, I'm expecting this and I'm expecting that. But if your belief system has limitations in it in terms of, if I can't believe that this person is having great success as a musician, then it's going to be hard for me to think that I'm going to be really, really successful in this thing. If I can't believe that this person or this thing over here will actually work for me, then what am I going after it for? Now, if I'm just going after it to learn a skill and to just be good so I can, I just want to be able to play, that's cool. But my musicians who are, aspiring to do greater things and maybe who are aspiring to be on big stages and all these types of things, where is your cutoff? Where is that cutoff that says, you know what, when I get to this point, that's when I made it, or whatever the case is for you? Because I say this often, there are only so many gigs out there. There are only so many gigs, and there are way more musicians than there are. When I say so many gigs, I'm talking about high level gigs, high paying gigs. There are only so many gigs out there. So that means everybody ain't finna get on the gig. That's just what it is. I don't care how good you are. Some of these opportunities may fall to you, and some of them may pass you by. Lately, I've been seeing musicians, older musicians, talking about the fact that, you got to change and you got to do this because one day you're hot and the next day you're not. And I'm saying, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but in a sense, you in your 20s, or just say teenagers now, the musicians coming out swinging as teenagers. In your teen years, you might be killing it. All teens, 20s, 30s, some even 40s. But if you start getting on up there in age, it's like the calls stop coming. Some of the calls start to die down unless you're already an established artist and people are calling you for you. Sometimes the calls start dying down. Now, don't get me wrong. There are lucrative situations that, older people do. And when I say older people, I don't mean it disrespectfully. I'm just saying people who are older in age as musicians and stuff, on up in age. Like myself, I'm older. Now I'm 40 now. So, but we get to 50, we get to 60, 70 years old. There are still people who are doing gigs and doing very well. So it's not to say that there are not opportunities available, but sometimes these opportunities can be limited. But that doesn't mean my thinking has to be limited, because just because I don't know of an opportunity that exists doesn't mean that opportunity does not exist. I was talking to my kids the other day, and I was telling them about people being wise and wisdom and knowledge and all these different things. Go with me for a second. People being wise, I'm like, up to their point of, what they can learn at the moment. You can be considered wise in the 1800s if you invented a really sweet buggy, like one that, this buggy got the works. It got the, the smooths. I don't know what kind of skin they were using back then, but just say it got leather seats in it. We got the fully insulated walls, and y'all don't watch the old movies, and you seen the plush buggies. They was like plushed out, had the nice, I ain't gonna say nice rims on them because they was pretty Straightforward. But they had the lamps and all that kind of stuff on them. So some of the buggies might have lighting in the inside at nighttime, you know. And so in the 1800s, you might have been sweet if you could make a sweet buggy. But if you come with that same skill in the 2000s, people going to be looking at you like you crazy. Like, okay, that's nice, but who finna get in that? Back in the 1800s, it was sweet. It was dope. But now in current times, like, so my point with why are you saying that, Jermaine? So my point with that is it might have been cool then until somebody decided, hey, I don't know, Ford wasn't the first one, but until somebody decided, hey, let's come up with this car concept. I think we can do something else better than, riding behind these horses all night. So I think we can get to where we're going a little bit faster. And I'm not going to go through all the history of that, but as the knowledge base increase, as the wisdom, as the understanding increase, we begin to create other things, other opportunities. Now manufacturers, mass producing cars and all these types of things. Like we began to produce all of these different things as our knowledge, as technology advanced, as our thinking advanced, we were able to create opportunities. So all that being said, how does that apply to musicians? Well, don't say what's not available or what we can't do because you're limited thinking, because you're only going off of what you've seen. The car didn't exist until somebody invented it. Opportunities for you to do 5 and 6 and 7 figures as a musician outside of being famous and playing for some big, huge artist or being on a retainer, those opportunities didn't exist before somebody figured out a way to make them exist. So now people are figuring out ways to make these things exist. Get your limiting beliefs off of it. Stop talking negative. To summarize all of this up and get to the meat of what I'm saying, we got to stop canceling what we're believing by the stuff we say. We got to stop it. We got to stop canceling what we believe and what's possible for us. And if you don't know if it is, just hush. Just hush. Don't be so quick to jump. I think one of the meme or the post or whatever that I saw on social media, I didn't sit there and go through all of the comments, but what was hilarious to me is the guy was saying something along the lines, you see how easy it is to lie on this platform, which is true. A lot of people do. But the ignorant part of that is not calling this guy ignorant. The ignorant part of it is people jumping in the comments and amening this guy. And I'm assuming these are also people who've never seen these type of opportunities happen for musicians and other people. The thing is, just because you hadn't seen it and you ain't been at their bank or you ain't looking at their statement, you don't know what's possible for them. Just because it has not happened for you and you don't see how it's possible does not mean it doesn't exist. Because I'm pretty sure when they started talking about the first cars or the idea of flight, again, the pioneers always get laughed at. The people who started always are the ones out front getting laughed at because it's like, man, can't nobody do that. You can't make no money as no musician. Like not no real money that you can retire off of and you can build something for you. You can't do that as a musician. That's not possible. You're not going to be able to do that because my homie did this. Like we always got something or somebody we want to call to be a witness for our unbelief. Like stop doing that. Just because you haven't seen it in your lifetime doesn't mean it isn't possible. I'm under the persuasion that anything I believe, anything I can come up with, anything I can ask, anything I can think of, God, we're going to put him in there, he can exceed it. Now, this I ain't going to preach, but I do want to back up what I'm saying. Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above anything that we can ask or think according to the power that is working in us. I really believe in that because I'm a living witness of it. Now, if I haven't witnessed any of this stuff in my life, then I wouldn't be on here talking. I wouldn't be telling y'all this because it's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm just giving y'all theory. But the very fact that I'm right here, right now, talking to y'all, if you really knew all of the dynamics to everything that is making this happen right now, I'm a living witness that now unto him who's able to do exceeding, who's able to go beyond, abundantly, way above anything I could come up with, anything I can imagine, anything that I can even think of. God is able to exceed anything I can think. And that's proven when we go throughout history. We thought we was doing something when we got buggies. You know what I'm saying? We thought we were doing something when we got steamships. We thought we were doing something when we created the combustive engine or whatever it's called. You know, the creating the what is it? I can't even think of my car parts right now. Basically making the engine work. I can't even think. My brain has just escaped me what I was trying to think of. But anyway, we thought we were doing something when we created all these different things. But there is a now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly. Now we got Tesla. We got everybody's making these electric cars and all this type of stuff. We thought we was doing something when we had the Zach Morris phone back in the day from Saved by the Bell. The big joint. You know what I'm talking about, with the antenna that pulled up. We thought we were doing something because we have a mobile phone, right? We thought we were doing something with that. But now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above anything that we can ask or think, according to the power that's working within us. Man, there's something in us that's working. It's something, before I get ahead of myself, it's something. What's this verse? I want to say it's Philippians 2:13. It talks about now God that's basically at work with it. Let me find it. And this ain't no Bible study, y'all, but you just happen to be listening to me talk about the Bible. You'll be all right. So Philippians 2:13, for it is God who is at work in you both to will and to work for his good pleasure. You don't think God has been at work in these people who have been creating these things that have made it possible? You didn't think he was working on the mind of somebody to create something like Zoom or something like live streaming and all these different things so that people can be encouraged during the pandemic and all these different things while we were stranded at home. We couldn't go anywhere. Where do you think that creativity comes from? You know, I couldn't think of B. Willox's combustion. I couldn't think of what I was trying to say. Y'all will get it later on, and it'll all come to me when I go outside and I'm off the live, and all these answers and stuff I was trying to think of, it'll come to me. But y'all got my point. So, and I see you guys in the comment section. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just, I started in the zone this morning, so I had to go with it. So I'm not ignoring you. I will come back. So yeah, it's just amazing to me how much stuff is available to us, but we stop the progress of what's available simply because we're limited to what we've seen. I'll say this. I remember when I was first posting, and people would laugh. Musician peers. Some of y'all might remember this. This has been about 10 plus years ago. When Instagram was first, I think, at least about 10 years ago, Instagram was becoming a thing. Like Facebook, YouTube was already established. But Instagram was just now becoming a thing, and people were posting. And I was posting to, I was already posting to YouTube. And some of my musician peers who were like in the industry and stuff, like, they laughed. They laughed at us for posting. Like, man, y'all crazy. Y'all out here posting. Somebody gonna come in here and steal all y'all stuff out y'all's houses and y'all studios. But that was their reality. They based it on, they had a homie who posted something online and somebody broke into his house and stole all of his stuff. Now, based on their testimony, that was true. But, let me say it this way. Based on their testimony, that was their fact. But that's not the whole truth. And I think I talked about that last week in terms of you dealing with facts and you dealing with truth. Something that you can be calling the truth might, in fact, be a fact, but that's not the whole truth. So you got to make sure that you have the whole truth before you open your mouth, because you might be saying something that's a fact, but it's not the whole truth. So you're, in turn, again, putting that lid on what's possible for you and for your career, because you don't have the ability to see what's going to happen for you 10 years down the road. If you're here, you don't have the full ability to be able to know what's going to happen for you. You don't know what's possible for you. So if you see somebody doing well and they tell you something, if they not being honest, it's going to come to the surface. So you don't have to try to rat them out or try to embarrass them or try to get an audience with you to try to prove that this person is not being honest, that this person is not telling the truth. Because here's the thing. If push comes to shove and they back up what they're talking about with their proof, you're going to be looking crazy because you posted something. You posted something trying to talk bad about trying to talk bad about this person. You posted something. Now you got to go pull back and retract everything you said. I use my good friend C Dub for an example because I've been knowing him for a while. C Dub has been a really, really cool guy. Some of you guys might know C Dub, Loops by C Dub. Some of y'all might be submitting stuff to his What's Your Take for musicians. C Dub, I remember, and I've told this story many times, I remember like working with C Dub years ago. We did some stuff together with Isaac Curry and Canton Jones and several other artists that we worked with back in the day, and back and forth us. He worked on some of my stuff. I worked on some of his stuff. Just years of him just grinding it out. And I remember when the Loops by C Dub was just getting kicked off, and then he started the Hoop Triggers. And when Hoop Triggers started really kind of picking up and people started hearing about it, there were a lot of musicians who jumped in and was ragging on my guy, like just talking bad about him, just putting him down, trying to make fun of what he had created because, man, this, that, and the other. It was heartbreaking in the music community because I'm like, why can't we support one another or get behind somebody's idea? Just because you didn't do it first, why can't you just support it? Or if you can't support it, just hush, be quiet. Let my man do what he's doing. If he has an audience who is willing to pay for his app and purchase it and support his business, that ain't got nothing to do with you. And I seen it was like a big thing about, man, now churches, I think more of it was fear. If we be honest, a lot of that stuff that was happening was because of fear. Cats thought they were going to lose their jobs because, man, this app going to put people out of work. And I can't say that it didn't. I don't know. But, especially during COVID, that thing like blew up during that time because churches, you couldn't gather together. So thankfully now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above, C-Dub endured something. I seen him go through public humiliation by the music community right before COVID started because he created something that seemed out of place at the time. But when the pandemic hit and nobody could go to church, that thing was right on time. Now unto him who's able, but here's the other side of the coin. What I saw C-Dub doing in the music community, the same community who was dogging him and dragging him through the mud. This dude was going live almost on a weekly basis and giving away money. Literally going live and giving away. He would raise money through Cash App and give away money to people who were in need. Give away money during the pandemic to musicians who were struggling, people who needed help. He would raise money and give away money. So now years later, his business blew up. Like he's all on Steve Harvey, celebrities and stuff are using his app, posting videos and getting shout outs from. It's like when you're rejected by one person, that's not the end all. And we have to be careful when we try to be gatekeepers for somebody else, because the very gate you're trying to make sure you don't let anybody else in, when it's your turn to go in, it might be locked. So we have to be careful when we're trying to be gatekeepers by the words that we say, by our limited beliefs, by our limited thoughts, because the lack of information that we have, our lack of exposure to something beyond what we've seen. We ain't seen them but church and a little side gig, so we think that's all that's available. Man, at best, a musician gonna do $50,000, $60,000 a year. On average, might be a better way to say that. But at best, you don't know what a musician does because you hadn't been in a room to have a conversation. You don't know. So you might be shocked to find out that somebody might be doing, 6 and 7 figures as a musician. Well, it didn't cause it a plan. I said they're a musician. I didn't say they was playing. I said they're a musician and they're using their skills. They're finding other ways to leverage their skills to create wealth and to create income. Because when we stop being limited in the way that we think, then opportunities present themselves to us. Because I'm not limited to just this one way of doing things. So there's so many more avenues that God can get wealth to me if that's what I desire. And I think before I speed past this, I think when we focus on helping others, when we focus on using our gift to be a blessing to others, then a lot of those opportunities will present themselves. I remember I started doing, I called it back in the day. It was like 2013, almost 10 years ago. I started doing Music Matters. And some of you in these different states and stuff like that, you might know, especially in Mississippi, I was doing it I came to a lot of my, like in the Northeast Mississippi area, I visited a lot of schools, like my first year of doing it. Because here's my premise, this is why I was doing it. I believed, well, based on what I saw, I started with my home school, like Houston High School or whatever in Mississippi. But anyway, I remember that like sports was huge. That's what everybody was into. You know, hardly anybody would go to the music program. Hardly anybody would take the music program seriously. Now, they had a band, you know, they built a new band hall, they did all this different stuff, but the music program as a whole wasn't really taken seriously. And I know why, because I'm from there. It's because there wasn't really an outlet for musicians at the time. There was not really much that we're going to be doing. Either going to go to school to be like a band director or something, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Or you was going to be like some type of performance major, but you're going to have to go somewhere else to do that. You weren't going to be doing it locally unless you joined like the local symphony or something that was, I think, in Tupelo. But that was always a side hustle thing. It was never a main thing. So what I wanted to do when I started Music Matters is to show people it was possible to have a career in music beyond what we think, because you haven't been exposed to a musician from your neck of the woods who's doing something beyond the normal. And so I know I was that guy at the time who was doing something way beyond normal for my neck of the woods. So I came back home, so to speak, and came back to my stomping grounds, and I started going around to different schools and stuff and just sharing my message of music matters, and it's possible that you can do this and you can do that, and whatever you're dreaming is possible. I was sharing that, and I wasn't even thinking nothing about being a motivational speaker or anything like that. I just know I had something that was on the inside of me, and I wanted to light that fire under somebody else who may have had these thoughts or these ideas that I want to do something with music. I want to do something with these creative skills that I have, but I don't have an outlet. I wanted to let people know that it's possible to do it. And so as I done that, I did begin to start listening to more motivational speakers and all this type of stuff, because I wanted to improve the way that I talk to these kids. I wanted to improve my message. And so I think I came back the next year and I did the same thing again. And then I think it was the choir teacher. If she's watching, thank you. I thank you for acknowledging this. But I spoke to the choir this particular year. I didn't speak to the band. I spoke to the choir this particular time. And she heard the message. She said, "This is so good. The whole school needs to hear this." I was like, okay, well, all right. Well, let's do the whole school then. So I came back and I shared this message of, it's possible. And so I started shifting it from Music Matters to basically just kind of, crafting my message to speak to large groups. And so it went from just speaking only with music, with bands and music departments and all of this type of stuff. So I started speaking at colleges and all these types of things. And so I'm getting paid now. When I did it the first year, I was doing it completely out of my pocket because I wanted to. I wasn't trying to, my point, bringing it home, my point of doing all this, I wasn't trying to do it for money. I wasn't trying to get paid. I wasn't trying to get banked with this because I didn't even know it existed. I didn't even know schools had a budget to pay people to come in and speak. I did not know it. So I was just doing it because I saw there was a need and I wanted to help. And because of me going after the need and trying to help people, it presented opportunities for me. And so now I'm getting called in and like, okay, what are you going to charge us to come in and do? Oh, like, what? Okay, these are different conversations. All right. So I didn't even know this existed as a musician. And I was playing on a large scale, like, playing in studio sessions, playing on, recordings and playing with artists and traveling and doing all these things. But I didn't know this other side existed. But by me being creative and trying to find ways to add value to others, then all these other possibilities just started showing up. And it has really got me to the place where I am now, hence the grooves and motivation thing, where now I've found so many different avenues that I can use these skills because they're not just in my hands, they're in my head, in my heart, and in my mouth. So it's all of who I am that you get, not just shut up and play. So when y'all come on here with that, that's why I ain't paying y'all no attention. Hey man, play something. Yeah, I'm gonna play. I'll play. Or you can go and watch another video where I am just playing. But I realized I'm not gonna allow somebody else to pigeonhole me or to lock me in a box of something that makes you comfortable because it's all you want from me. because there's so much more that I offer. And I think once we start realizing who we are and who God is in us and how he's working through us to bring out what he wants us to be, then we'll unlock all kind of potential. We'll start unlocking, and it has everything to do with how you believe. So if you don't want to manifest it for yourself, stop talking about it. And when I say that, I'm meaning the negative stuff, because you will attract to you the stuff you talk about and the stuff you think about and the stuff you spend time on. That's not to say that stuff won't happen. Bad stuff won't happen. It's the thing that people like to quote from the book of Ecclesiastes is the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one. But we always say, but to the one that can endure to an end. But I think the actual saying is that time and chance happens to us all. So stuff is gonna happen regardless. I don't care if you fast. I don't care if you slow. I don't care if you're strong. I don't care if you're weak. Time and chance, something is going to happen that's going to knock you off your seat. Like something is going to happen. Time and chance is going to happen to everybody. But that don't mean you have to agree with the circumstance. This might be happening, but I don't got to co-sign it. You don't need me to co-sign this. I might be going through a hard time as a musician, but I don't have to co-sign and agree with this hard time. The world might be in a recession and in a pandemic, or not in pandemic anymore, but in a recession and experiencing hard times, as I said last week, but I don't have to agree because that's what's being shown to me. My reality can be bigger than that. My personal reality can be bigger than that. And I rather agree with God's truth rather than the truth that I'm being given, because as I study and research, most of the stuff that I think I'm seeing, I ain't really seeing it. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I can be a I can be a conspiracy theorist at times. I know that's just my because I hardly believe anything that people talk about. So in that regard, I can be a conspiracy theorist. I'm being funny when I say that. But my point is there are a lot of things that we are accepting as truth that's not true. There's a lot of things we accept as true that's not true. We think it's one thing because what's being presented to us. But if we know, and if we are believers, we know that we live in a world where there is deception. And you're going to be given or fed something that makes you agree with lack, that makes you agree with there not being enough. There is like we go back to Genesis 1, when God created man and woman. God created man or whatever. So, and then you got in Genesis 2, he tells them what trees to eat of. You can eat, you know the whole story. Some of y'all know the whole story of Adam and Eve and the fall. If you believe, if you don't, it's all good. But the whole story, they basically had all of this abundance around them. From any tree you shall freely eat. Nothing but abundance surrounding them. And it was the only one thing that they got tempted by, lack. You got one thing that he tell you to leave alone, and you got all this abundance around you. And I'm not going to go too deep into that. My point is, with our lives, we're so quick to get on the negative. I'll put myself on Front Street because y'all ain't going to speak up. Y'all ain't going to tell the truth. So I'm going to be honest myself. I have all this abundance around me. And what we do as human beings, we dial in on the one negative thing that's standing out. And we overlook all of the abundance. I got up out of the bed this morning and my legs work, and for me, that's huge. My hands work, my eyes work, my ears work. I can still play. I can still hear music. My family is great. We just celebrated my son's 9-year-old birthday yesterday. Like, I got so much to be thankful for, but I go outside, I'm just going to make up something, and my truck is dirty. And so now that's what I key in on. Or there's a stain on something, or I broke a bass string, or, I get a bill in the mail that I wasn't expecting and I thought I had already took care of this, and now y'all sending me something. You know how we do. And so now we start focusing on the lack, the thing that is not. In other words, another word for lack, not, the thing that is not. We start looking at something that is not there. We start looking like when just some of you guys that are married or whatever, you got spouses. That one thing that y'all get into it about, You forget all the good stuff that this person does for you on a regular basis, and you want to highlight that one thing that's bothering you at the moment as if that's so important. And so we focus on the lack rather than the abundance of consistency that's there with this person. What do they consistently do for you? What do you consistently do for them? What do they consistently show you? Okay, they got smart with you, or they got an attitude with you, or they're having a bad day, so they lashed out at you. So you gonna hop on that lack and spend all night on that? Nah. So our minds, the Bible speaks of the hearts being wickedly deceitful, and of course we know it refers to the mind. It's wickedly deceitful. It wants to show you the worst case scenario so that you can start focusing on the wrong stuff. And now that takes you away from all of the abundance that's available to you. And then when you're focusing on lack, it kills creativity. That's the other thing. As creatives, the lack kills your creativity. It completely destroys your creativity because it's hard for me to be creative when I have a lack of idea. Whole thing what we call writer's block. There's no such thing as writer's block. You just got too much on your mind. And I've been guilty of it because I'm a songwriter myself. I don't talk about it, but I write songs myself. But I've been guilty of saying the thing about writer's block. Do we really have writer's block, or are we focusing in on the lack and we're missing the abundance of the creativity that's all around us because we're focusing in on what we can't come up with right now? I got to write this song. I got to come up with this record. Once I start focusing on my abundance, man, I can create, like, y'all seen me do it countless times on this channel where I just come up with grooves. I have no problem creating music and coming up with songs and coming up with arrangements and all this different stuff. There's so much out there. Even with me teaching people, I remember growing up and there was other musicians I would try to learn from, and they would be like trying to hide their hands and not show you stuff. And it's like, if you're that self-conscious, or you're that not self-conscious, what's the word I'm looking for? Some of y'all know it, you put it in the comments later. But you're that insecure, that might be it. So if you're that insecure that you think if you show me anything, I'm going to have your catalog, that shows how limited your thinking is when it comes to your playing. I don't got no problem showing y'all any lick that I've played or anything that I've come up with, because I understand. Here's the difference. When you understand that you are a steward as opposed to being an owner, it changes everything up for you. I understand that I steward this gift. And the more I steward it, the more I get. The more I give, I understand the giving, the sowing and reaping principle. Let's just use that. The sowing and reaping principle. The more I give, the more I get back. I can't possibly run out of ideas to be creative. Now, my stuff might sound similar, but personally, I cannot run out of ideas because I have an endless supply from a source that is not coming from me. My brain is limited, but my source is not. So when I understand that I have an unlimited source that I can tap into at any given moment to get endless ideas, I can put up 1,000 courses and I still have stuff. And I can show you all of my licks and I can still go on the gig and still play what I'm going to play because I'm not out of ideas. And if you play it, I understand I have a unique fingerprint and you're not going to sound like me. So why not share it? So when I share it, I automatically get more. There's been times that I've been in one-on-one coaching bass lessons. I say coaching calls, but some people don't know what that means. So basically another word for bass lessons, a little deeper bass lessons. But I've been in lessons with people and they ask me about how to do a lick, and it could be something that they played. And I show them right there, like 4 to 5 ways of playing that one lick right there on the spot. That's like 4 or 5 ways you can take that, flip the notes. You do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And so now go practice on that. Now you got like 10 licks off of this one that you had, because there's endless possibilities when we don't think in terms of lack. But when we don't believe and we always speak negativity instead of positivity, and we always put our mouth on people and on stuff and on ideas, we create boundaries for ourselves that don't have to be there because we live in abundance. All right. I'm going to stop because, I'm going to stop. Let me just go back through some of these comments to speak to everybody because I never acknowledge. I normally try to acknowledge people in the comment section, and I just went right in today. BE, I see you. Dalton Bell, I see you. Canada. Montreal, Canada. Okay, Canada's showing up. Paulding, Mississippi. Come on here. Cedric, I see you. Charles, what's up, man? My guy. He said that JM5 looking and sounding great. I appreciate it, man. So yeah, let me make mention of that. I didn't say anything. So for the newcomers, this is my signature. This is my signature JM5 jazz bass that we just dropped this a few days. Well, was it last week? It was last week. We just dropped this last week. So not literally dropped it, but we dropped it on the website. So it's available if you guys. I think it's in the link is in the description if you guys want to check that out after this live. But anyway, this is the 5-string version. I've been playing the 4-string for a little while. I actually posted a video doing a review of this bass where you can go and check that out as well on the website, or you can go search my channel and find this JM5 review by me. But anyway, yeah, man, Charles, this is this is it. So let's keep going. Douglas Williams says, "Oh snap, he got the 5-string." What's up, Doug? Let's see here. I enjoyed that. Thank you, man. You was talking about the thing I played earlier. Andre, good morning to you. Listen to the counsel and receive instruction so that you may be wise later in life. Good stuff, man. Absolutely. Mitchell, Music for Jesus, good morning to you. Sean Lewis says, with man, it is impossible. With God, all things are possible. There it is. Joel, good morning to you, sir. Let's see who else. Mitchell says, for everything was created by him in heaven and on earth, the visible and the invisible. All things have been created through him and for him. There it is, Mitchell. There it is. F.L. Miller said it was the truth for them. So you were talking about when I was saying when people agree to or say something based on what they saw or whatever. Yeah, you're right. It was the truth for them. But it was like, ain't number one truth when we really get down to it. Let me do this because my battery is about to die. We're going to give y'all a quick commercial break. I'm going to give y'all there it is. I'm still here so I can hear y'all talking. So if you don't have this book, many of the things I'm talking about today, some of this stuff I covered in my book, 10 Ways to Success, The Working Musician. This book is not yet a New York Times bestseller, so I need y'all to help it get up there. Musicians can have bestseller books too. So I need y'all to, I'm tripping. It ain't got to be a New York Times bestseller. As long as it help y'all in y'all's personal career, I'm good with that. So be sure to pick that up. It's available on Amazon. I also did an audio book for it where I'm reading it. So if you have to listen on the go, you can do that. Like I know for me, like when I do stuff around, I got a big yard and I like doing my yard work sometimes. I like doing my yard work. So one of the things I like to do when I'm doing stuff around the yard or around the house, I like to put my headphones on and just like listen to whether it be sermons, speeches, or like audiobooks. Like rarely do I just sit and listen to music all day. It's other stuff that I'm trying to empower myself with, so that goes into strengthening. So let me give y'all that tip. If you're not a person that already does that, you need to make sure that that's part of your thing that you do. Listen to stuff that empowers your mind. Things that gives you a little bit more information than you thought you knew. Because the more you listen, the more you learn. I study the Bible a lot, but the more I read and the more I study, the more I figure I don't know. Like I'm like, man, I feel like I don't know nothing. As much as I read, I feel like I don't know anything. And it's like that all the way across the board with so many other areas of life. The more I study, the less I feel like I know, because you start to understand that there's so much out there that you don't know and you don't fully understand. And so I think when we limit ourselves to the information we know, that's kind of ignorant on our part to do that, because you don't know what you don't know. And so the more we open ourselves up to learning, you start to discover, man, there's so much more out here for me to know. All right, so let's keep going. Music for Jesus says, never apologizing for acknowledging God and your faith in him. Thank you all for sharing all of what you have to say and believe. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Music for Jesus. Donnie, I see you, man. Let's see. This is why I limit how much I watch the news. Negativity sells so they can focus on it more. Listen, I'm finna get on the soapbox, so y'all hang tight. And I'm gonna blame Music for Jesus. So if y'all wanna get mad, y'all can add her. I'm gonna throw you under the bus. But negativity, that we've been so, and we don't know it, but we've been so pre-programmed or so desensitized, so to speak. Like my family has a vlog that we were doing, and I'm not trying to shamelessly plug our vlog because it's been a while since we posted, by the way. But we teach our kids verses and scriptures and that type of thing, and we intentionally teach them stuff because I know if we don't teach them, the world is going to teach them. So we get in front of the cart, so to speak, and teach them things that we want them to know, things that we hold valuable to us, our principles, our values, all these types of things. So oftentimes, like even something I posted for my, if you are following me on not YouTube, but if you follow me on Facebook, I posted something from my son about his birthday, and he was just sharing a scripture and just giving some encouragement. It was like a minute long video that my wife edited down. It was actually longer than that, but I posted the short, and it's so funny. It's so funny when I posted that short. I think the video has maybe like 400 views. The part that I'm saying that's funny, here's my soapbox part. I find it so interesting. I see kids cursing and saying all kind of disrespectful stuff to their parents, little young kids just like my son's age and younger. And when I see that kind of stuff, it's so interesting to me that it goes viral. And here I am posting something positive from my kids, and I'm like, you get a couple of hundred people. I can see if I only had a couple of hundred people following me, but having all these followers and maybe a couple of hundred people see it, I find that so interesting that the negativity, it goes out, or somebody will share like a fight. All of us, I'm sure we got threads on our Instagram where people send us these private videos and stuff like that. But you're seeing somebody in a fight or something that's completely dumb. A lot of it I laugh. I like to laugh. So I see something that's crazy and I'm laughing. But it's very rare that I'm sent something that's inspirational or uplifting or something that's going to better me as a human being. It's so rare that I'm sent something from just regular, like I get sent something that's funny, that's silly, and all these types of things. But when it comes to something that's positive, you're not going to get sent that. Because we don't get ratings off of that. Because I believe most people are not going to be too quick to send something that challenges them to be better than they are. We're good with sending stuff that we can look down on how a person is being dumb or doing or saying something dumb. But when it's something that calls us out on the table and makes us look dumb, we're not too quick to send that. Nah, what am I going to do that for? What, like they say, what they do that at? I'm not sending something that's going to expose me on something I need to work on, the fact that I'm a little negative, or the fact that I need to improve, or the fact that I'm not operating in faith, the fact that I'm operating in fear, the fact that, not the faith, but the fact that I'm not doing all that I'm called to do, the fact that I'm not being productive with my time. We're not sharing that. We're sharing the stuff that makes us laugh and entertains us. And that's what everything is built around, entertainment. So to share something and for me to be on here for an hour talking, I'm just interested to see how many people stay all the way to the end, because if I were to get on here and talk bad about everything, politics and the Grammys, what just happened, if I get on here and do all of that, I probably have a bigger audience and people will hang around a little bit longer. But I'm not talking about that stuff. And so I just, with Music for Jesus, with what you said, I just find that interesting. And it's just human nature. I'm not throwing anybody on the bus. It's just human nature. That's just what we do. That's just what we do, and we thrive on negativity, so that's what the media gives to us. Because if we were to change our minds and start demanding, these people want to stay in business. It's a business transaction at the end of the day. And if people were demanding for something more positive and more uplifting than the people who are in control, so to speak, of this stuff, they want to make money. So I'm going to get at people what they want. I want to send a mixed message, but I can't land that if you won't accept it. You can't give nobody nothing that they won't accept. Try to feed a baby that got their mouth closed. They said you try to stick a mule's head in the water, he'll drown before he drink because he's stubborn. So if we know that to be true, how much more is it for human beings? We can't force feed anybody anything. People do stuff for one simple reason only, because they want to. And that's what it is. Dalton Bell says, I know the veteran musician you are talking about. Seems he only has negative things to say about upcoming musicians on Instagram. I wasn't necessarily referring to anybody specifically today when I was talking. And so I'm not trying to throw nobody under the bus. But yeah, there are a lot of them out there. I will say that I know many of them that are out there that only, and we got to, I'm learning to do this too. The older I get, I'm learning to not be so quick to judge, because I can judge with the best of them. So but I'm learning to be a little more slow about, because when you start understanding, I think this is the art of learning how to communicate with people, the art of building better relationships with people. We learn how to be a little more slow about judging people. We are a little bit more apt to understand their reasons, because people probably are not always trying to be negative. And if they are trying to be negative, or if they come across as if they're trying to be negative all the time, we got to get to the root of what they might not tell us. But if you study people and you watch people's behavior, some of that sociology stuff, if you study people's behavior, you start to see, like, wait a minute, this man is hurting. This woman is hurting. Oh, that's why they do that all the time. They've been hurt in this area. They've been misused. Maybe they tried to reach out. Maybe they put their hand out to some young musicians, and these young musicians were hard-headed and they wouldn't listen. So because they did this more than once and they put their hand out and got their hand bit, that gave them the mind, kind of like a person. It's like this. It's like a person that gets bit by a dog, so to speak. You know, folks aren't just naturally afraid of dogs and stuff like that. It's something like a baby. You got to tell a baby that the stove eye is hot. They're not naturally afraid of that. It's not until they burn their hands on something, or not until a big mean dog attacks you and you get bit by a dog. Now you're afraid of all dogs. You get bit by a dog, now you're afraid of all dogs. And the truth is, not all dogs are bad, but your experience has suggested to you, when it comes to dogs, guard yourself. So now I get a better understanding of a person being afraid of a dog, because I understand when I sit down and talk to them and hear their reasons. If I get the opportunity to get an audience with them, I hear their reasons and I start to understand, oh man, I was bit by 3 dogs from the ages of 8 till 15. I got chased by 3 different dogs and got bit 3 different times. So now that gives me perspective as to why this person has reasonable doubt when it comes to dogs. Now, when I understand their reasons, I can have more empathy for them. And I'm not so quick to judge them because I know their reasons. So a lot of times we judge people prematurely, and I've done it, because we don't understand their reasons. But once we get a better understanding of their reasons, you can build relationships with people. And when you build relationships, people are willing to hear you out and hear your side of the story. And they're willing to reason with you now because you've took time out to understand where they're coming from. So now we can make some headway now. I can get somewhere talking to you now because you know I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not disrespecting your experiences. So now I understand where you're coming from. I respect what you've been through. I respect your point of view. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect where you're coming from. So now I want to have an open conversation with you. And over time, these people will be more willing to change the way that they see the world when you're a little bit more open to hear from them rather than to judge them. So I know I went on a rant on a rant right there, but hopefully that made sense. Indonesia is in the building. Donnie says, my brain is limited, but my source is not. There it is. So I'm gonna try to say this. Sigua, Israel. I'm trying to say it. Sigua, Israel. Let me know if I'm saying it right. Uganda is watching, so thank you for joining and watching today. I'm gonna try to get better about reading and saying names. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get better. I know us Americans over here, we like the easy stuff, but I'm gonna try to get better about that. I appreciate your willingness to openly share your talents and skills with us, Cedric. Man, thank you. You preaching that word today. You can blame me. Music with Jesus said, you can blame me. Those subliminal messages will get inside of us, and we don't even realize it. Absolutely. Love your son's message. Just saw it this morning. Thank you. I appreciate that. Amen. Always supply and demand driven. We can control the demand and make the suppliers adjust what they divvy out. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We can do that. We can do that. What's that? I'm trying to say that. Nandi? Am I saying that right? Namdi? Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna say Namdi, and he said, well tried. That means I was close, but wasn't quite. You didn't quite knock that one out the park. I'm trying. So there it is. All right. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me today. I wanted to get on here and just share some thoughts with you. And I had something else I was gonna play. I'm gonna play us out because I didn't play that long today, and some of y'all joined us late. So I'm gonna play us out. I generally don't play us out, but I played a ballad today because I was in a space, so I just went with it. But I'm gonna play us out. Hopefully y'all can hear this. Give me thumbs up real quick before I jump off to let me know you can hear this. I'm gonna play it real quick. Let me know you can hear my track. Here we go. Let me know you can hear that. When I get the thumb up, I'll start playing. I think you can hear it, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to be jamming airplane and thinking y'all can hear stuff and you can't. There it is. We waited for a while, but I see somebody. Y'all must be driving. There we go. I see you. So this particular one is actually active. This particular bass is active. Joel says, give us a simple bass exercise before you go. Man, I have nothing right now. I have nothing today. Check out to go to my channel, and there's tons of resources there. So go to my channel there. But yeah, this particular one is the active preamp that I'm playing. So normally the basic ones just have the volume. So front pickup, back pickup, and tone is what the standard ones have. But the one with the active preamp is volume, blend, and then you got treble, stack, and bass on the bottom. Treble and bass. So you got a little bit more control with that preamp with the active one. I'm actually either or, because both of them to me get what they need to get. So I can go either way, active or passive, when it comes to these two basses. So yeah. All right. I'll let that go. So Church Bass says, and I'm out after this. Church Bass says, God bless you, brother. Keep up the good work. How many instruments do you play? I think 4, I'm gonna say. confidently. There are others that I've played that y'all don't know nothing about, but four that I like seriously and really professionally. I only claim two, honestly, but I do play. So I play keys, bass, drums, and guitar. Um, I also play tuba, but I haven't touched a tuba in man. It's been almost 20 years since I've touched or played a tuba, but I was like, I started tuba like the same time I started playing guitar, like when I was 12. But yeah, I played tuba. What else? I actually, fun fact, played harmonica for a little while. Harmonica. Yep. I didn't get good at it, but I played it. So don't come at me no harmonica and think I'm finna give you some Stevie. So I'm not finna give you any Stevie. Got that bass and six string. I do not. We only have 4 and 5 for this particular, and this is the 5-string model. So yeah, we only have 4 and 5. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But I gotta jump off. I gotta run. I got some other things to get done today. But man, thank y'all. If you found this helpful, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you hadn't already subscribed to this channel. We are near 50,000 subscribers. It's been a long road for me. And honestly, y'all, I've been hitting and missing with trying to really push this channel like I should, because I wasn't so much about subscriber driven. I have been, and it's like I'm back and forth with it. So since we're so close to 50,000, it would be great to go ahead and cross that threshold. Since we right here at the gate, we might as well go on in. So it's like nobody's gonna give me a balloon or anything if I get to 50,000 subscribers. So, but I really will appreciate you guys sharing this with your friends, sharing this with your audience. If you found something that I share helpful, the biggest thing I would say this, because I'm not. Now the reason why, let me give context. I ain't just searching followers for followers' sake, because I know I'm held responsible for the people that follow me in terms of what I say, my mouth, and the stuff that comes from me. I'm held responsible for it. So I'm really careful. I ain't trying to have too many people following me like that, because I don't want to be responsible for if I do something crazy. But I will be responsible, however. And so if there are musicians that would benefit from the content that I share and who are looking for somebody to share this type stuff, then by all means share this channel with somebody that who can benefit from the stuff that I share. One of my passions is to help musicians. That's one of my passions, is to help musicians. And I know there are so many areas when I say the word help that covers so many different areas. And I've covered a lot of those in what I've done with Grooves and Motivation here. So again, if you found something helpful today and somebody that could directly benefit from this, even if it's your worship team or your group or your band or somebody, share this. It ain't just got to be bass players, because obviously you see I cover more than just talking about the bass guitar. All right. So Sean's asked, is this bass active? Yes, this particular bass is active. Now I do have passive. The bass model of this is passive. And I played it in the demo of this, just to swing back around to that one more time. I played the passive version of this bass in my review. This is the active model, but the passive model is in my review. So yeah, if you want to hear the passive model, what it sounds like, it's not shabby. So if you like the sound of this, the passive model, I'm sure you're going to love that as well. Obviously, there's a price difference there with the active versus the passive. But you'll hear it in the interview. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this again today. And I am out of here. Have a blessed day, y'all. Peace.